So I want to introduce Suzie Bartel, and then I'll talk to you after she's done speaking. This is Suzie.
So Ryan arrived very reluctantly into this world. I was already 2 weeks overdue when they finally induced me, and after 30 long hours of labor, he was born by cesarean. The OB actually told me that he could never have had a natural birth because his head was enormous. He really was off the charts, and we used to tell him as he was growing up that it was filled with brains. And it really was true. Ryan had a really unique intellect and a photographic memory. At the age of 5, we gave him a pictorial encyclopedia of world history for Christmas. He put aside all his other gifts and just kept going page after page. He spent all day on it, day after day after that, and before long, he had actually memorized the whole thing. That began a passion for him of history, and he amassed this amazing collection of history books, to the point where he got into high school, he was actually correcting all the history teachers when they got something wrong. But with that intellect also came a lot of challenges. Kids like Ryan are labeled as twice exceptional, meaning they have high intellect, gifted, but they also have developmental challenges. In Ryan's case, he was diagnosed with Asperger's at a fairly young age, and that made him different. And so he grew up feeling that difference, and you know what happens when you're a kid who's different? You get bullied, and you're often very lonely. You have challenges meeting other kids who are like you. They were very influential moments in his life that really formed his character. But once he got into high school, with all these, huge high schools that we have here in Loudoun County, he started realizing there were a lot of other kids who were different too. And they were also lonely. And so he reached out to them and connected with them. And before long, he had amassed all these diverse groups of friends. And he approached these friendships in a totally non-judgmental way because he knew what it was like to feel different. A lot of his friends told us later that he was actually the nucleus of their social groups. They weren't necessarily all as friends getting along together, but they would all turn to him when they were in a crisis. And he had actually saved 1 or 2 of them. The tragedy of Ryan's story is that while he was helping other kids, he couldn't help himself. And so, as he approached his senior year in high school, with all the decisions that have to be made, the pressure on these kids is enormous. They have to keep up their grades, they have to have community work, they have to find the right college and then get into it and then make decisions about what they're going to do with their lives, and have a girlfriend and lots of friends, etc., etc. It was all too much for him. One of his friends wrote us a great letter later on. It took him actually 2 years to send this letter to us, and he said, Ryan was looking for meaning in his life. To him, just doing a meaningless task just to satisfy the machine was pointless. And he also knew that he was smart, but he just didn't know how to apply his type of intellect. Losing Ryan was obviously devastating, and it had an enormous impact on so many people, on our community, and obviously on most of all on us as parents. And in my journey of grief as his mother, one of the things I actually discovered was that I had this enormous love for him, and I thought it was going to fade away, but it actually did the opposite, because being a parent is a work of love. And it kept burning brighter than ever. And I suddenly realized that maybe if I could channel that love in a different direction, and instead of focusing on myself and my grief, if I could turn it around in order to help somebody else, and to just provide maybe a moment of compassion, maybe I could even help someone and save them. And so I've had all these learnings in my journey, and I have a new perspective on life and a new level of compassion I just simply didn't have before. And one of the great things that I really has sunk in with me is that we really don't know what other people are going through. We don't know what insecurities they have, how they're hurting, what pain they're going through at that time. And so one very small moment of act of kindness might change their path. It might touch them deeply enough that it could actually save their life. And so we use that learning as the core to the Ryan Bartel Foundation's programs, because we truly believe in the non-judgmental acceptance of everyone. And we apply that to the work that we do inside our schools and in the community program we have called The Fort. And it's because, in the end, we're all human. And isn't every human life worth the same? We will never know how much impact our work is really doing, how much hope we're providing to somebody. But I do know one thing. I get letters and I get emails, and that's really what motivates me. I have found purpose in my pain, because they tell me that we make a difference. And once or twice I even get told I've saved them. And teen suicide is still raging high here in Loudoun County. But I do know this, that it could be so much worse. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm more importantly so thankful that Ryan has shown me that my everlasting love for him can be turned into purpose and enable me to live my life to do good and to do something that he would actually be proud of. Thank you.